Hey, so I love the little character. It is super cute. I think it's got great proportions. I wouldn't change it. The only place where there's a real problem is right on the back of the legs, where you can see this edge loop kind of curling up and down, and this one curling down and up. If I go into vertex mode, I can also see that, there's a little left behind vertex right here that just needs to be addressed. And the same thing's happening over here. Doot, doot, doot. So my goal here is just to fix those and then take a look and see if there are any other problem spots, because I can see that your foot has a really dense mesh and the leg has a fairly loose mesh, and sometimes when those things come together it can cause trouble. So first things first, to set up for this fix, I'm going to make a couple of changes. First, in the shading menu, I'm going to click this Use Default Material button, and that lets me see without the object transparency. Makes things a little easier. And second, up here I've turned on Object X Symmetry, which is going to let me fix both sides of the leg at once. You'll probably see something like this if symmetry is turned off, so I'm going to turn that on. Finally, because I'm going to be working with individual vertices, I'm going to move back into one mode for starters, and it's always good to understand where things are when you move between 1 and 3. So here in one mode I can see the actual vertices, which is always going to be step 1, and now in my shift right click menu I can pull up multi-cut, and multi-cut is good for two things. If I hold down Control, it's good for putting in edge loops. And one interesting thing is that you'll see that my edge loop here isn't going all the way around. That's because this shape is an n-gon. The other thing multi-cut is good for is cutting new edges into the model. So I can click on this vertex, and then I can click on this vertex. Sometimes the vertices are a little bit hard to find, and what you want to do is just click on an edge and drag, and there'll be a nice snap point when you get to that vertex. At that point you can let go of the mouse button, and whenever you're done you press enter. I'll do the same thing on this side where that other edge is missing, so I'll just click here and drag, click here and drag, click here and drag, and then press enter. And now I'm going to press Q to move back into the selection tool. I can see why you wanted to delete these edges, because that is causing a pinch here. If I go to 3 and then I deselect, I can really see that defined pinch, and you don't want that. So you've got a couple of options. One is that you can just take these vertices and manually move them, and that's probably going to give you the most control over what you're doing. The other option, I'm going to go back into object mode, and in Mesh Tools, there are some sculpting tools. You don't want to rely on these because they're not great, but this Relax tool right here will help get rid of the pinch. At least I think it will. When you start the sculpting tools running, hold down the B key on your keyboard, B as in brush, and middle mouse drag until you get a radius about the size you want. That one looks pretty good for me. And now you just kind of click just a little bit on the areas where you want to get rid of pinching. Clicking and dragging works too, and of course I have symmetry on, so I'm doing both sides at once. So that's going to make these just a little bit less pinchy. And whenever I think it looks good, again I will press Q, and that moves me back into the normal tool set. The last thing I'm going to do is just check for n-gons, because I'm pretty sure that this face here and this face here both have 5 sides. Yeah, it does. But in using a tool, I will find out if there are any others as well. So in Shift right click, there's a tool called Cleanup. In Cleanup, let me just reset this. In cleanup, the idea of cleanup is that it is supposed to clean up your model, but the actual cleanup feature doesn't work that well. I'm going to switch it over to select. And select will indeed just select any problem areas that I tell it to find. In this case, I want to find faces with more than 4 sides. So I will check that and hit apply. And ooh, I'm actually seeing a couple of faces up here with 5 sides, in addition to the ones that I thought had 5 sides. Okay, so let's fix those up too. I'm going to start with the easy one. These two right here. I'm going to take multi-cut, just like I did for the leg here. I'm going to click up to the end of this kind of diamond shape. And then over here, I think I will hold down Shift and just snap this to 50%. And then click over here and go to that point. And that should give me quads back here. We'll check that out by applying the cleanup again. And yes, now I only see these two on the outside. And I think the fix is going to be similar. I think if I go from this edge over to this edge, I should be fine. So again, object mode, multi-cut, click. And again, I'm just going to go to 50% and then click back down here and press enter. And now let's try this out one more time. Ooh, there's still something going on. Haha, the soles of the feet. Look at that. Good job, cleanup. So I'll do one more multi-cut right from here over to there. Enter, Q, object mode. And in this case, cleanup simply deselected the model, which tells me that there are no more n-gons, and the model is good to go. So those are the steps that I would take to clean up the model. It should be pretty straightforward, at least I hope it will. Most of it is just multi-cutting. Remember to press enter when you're done making your new loop. And then I would just use cleanup to check and see where there are problems and multi-cut to fix them. Work in one mode because it's easier to see where the vertices are. And as needed, and only as needed, the relax tool exists, and that may help you with just a couple of the areas where you're finding things to be a little bit pinchy. So that's it. You got a really cute character. Oh, don't let me forget the skirt. With the skirt, there are just these leftover vertices and they're causing a little pinch. Just make a selection box, hit delete, good to go. So it's a really cute character. I hope you're really happy with it. You should be. I guess the last thing I'll say is that multi-cut will not make anything bad happen to your UV map. Your UV map will be totally solid. If we were making new faces, you would have to redo the UVs, but because all we're doing is making cuts, the UVs will be just fine. So that's all good news. Okay, I hope that that was helpful for you, and I'll see you in class if you have any questions.